The following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivek, addressed to a dissident priest, Malar Omain, who confronted Vivek with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, and with prophecies of the Nervarine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivek in interrogating the dissident priest, who can clearly recall the events of the distant past, but you have asked me to tell you, in my own words, the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the tribunal, and the prophecies of a Navarre reborn. Here's what I can tell you. When the Chimmer first abandoned the herds and tents of their nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra and worshipped them as gods. But our brethren, the Dwemer, scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals, and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So the Chimmer and Dwemer were always at bitter war until the Nords came and invaded Resdain. Only then did Chimmer and Dwemer put away their strife and join together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chimmer and General Dumac of the Dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. And what time I was but a junior counselor to Nerevar and Nerevar's queen Amalexia and his other favorite counselor, Sophasil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive. Given the bitter disputes between Chimmer and Dwemer, but by negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Dumac somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Dagothr, Lord of House of Dagoth, entrusted as a friend by both Nerevar and Dwemer, brought us proof that High Engineer Cagrenac of the Dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorcan, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, mockery of Chimmer faith, and a fearsome weapon. We all urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves, and to destroy this threat to Chimmer beliefs and security. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumac and asked if what Dagothr said was true, but Cagrenac took great offense and asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the Dwemer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Halaman, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagothr said was indeed true, and the creation of a new god of the Dwemer should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed and again counseled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust and friendship, and reminding Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimmer against the impedy and dangerous ambitions of the Dwemer. Then Nerevar went back to Vardenfall one last time, hoping that negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace. But this time the friends Nerevar and Dumac quarreled bitterly, and as a result the Chimmer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Dumac's armies out into the field and pinned them there, while Nerevar, Dagothr, and a small group of companions could make their way into the heart chamber by secret means. There, Nerevar, the Chimmer king, met Dumac, the dwarf king, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics. With Dumac fallen and threatened by Dagothr and others, Cagrenac turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Cagrenac and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace, but Cagranac's tools remained, and the Gother seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Craignac has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands." But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal to Gother, until I return." So Nerevar told the Gother to protect the tools in the heart chamber until he returned. Then Nerevar was carried to us, where we waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us all that had transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the heart of Lorcan held Wander's powers. Only later did we hear from others present that the Gother had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal. And no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel, as we requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimmer people, and who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm, for which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore we need to keep those tools, to study them in their principles, so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition, that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Azura, that the tools would never be used in the profane manner that the Dwemer had intended. We readily agreed and swore solemn oaths at Nerevar's dictation. So then we went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain and met with the Gother. The Gother refused to deliver the tools to us, saying they were dangerous and we could not touch them. The Gother seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and then we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling of the tools, but now I feel sure that he had privately learned the powers of the tools, and had in some confused way decided he must have them for himself. Then Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow the Gother and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sothasil for study and safekeeping. For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time in secret, Sothasil must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries, and at last he came to us with a vision of a new world, of peace, of justice, and honor of nobles, and health and prosperity for the commoners, with a tribunal as immortal patrons and guides, and dedicating ourselves to a vision of a better world. We made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Craignac's tools. And no sooner than we had completed our rituals and began to discover our newfound powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that her champion Nerevar, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy and to make sure such profane knowledge might never again be used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Sothasil said to her, "The old gods are cruel and arbitrary, and distant from the hopes and fears of Mer. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding inconstant spirit. We are bold and fresh and will not fear you. And then in that moment, all shimmer were changed into dumber, and our skins turned ashen, and our eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at that time that this had happened to us. But Azura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate, and the fate of your people, and all the Damar shall share your fate, from now to the end of time. You think yourselves gods, but you are blind in all his darkness. And Azura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid. We put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build the new world of our dreams. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dummer fervent and grateful. The Dummer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sophisil spoke to them, saying that it was not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and a sign of a special favor they might enjoy his new myrrh. No longer barbarians trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized myrrh, speaking directly to the immortal friends and patrons, the three faces of the tribunal, and we were all inspired by Sil's speech and vision, and took heart. And over time we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honorable society. And the land of Resdain new millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity unknown to other savage races. But beneath Red Mountain, the Gother had survived, and even as the light of our bold new world shined over ever more brightly beneath Red Mountain, the darkness gathered, the darkness that was close kin to the bright light that Sophisil coaxed from the heart of Lorcan with the tools of Cagnac. As the darkness grew, we fought it, and crafted walls to confine it, but we never could destroy it. For the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. And in these later days of Morrowind, reduced to a subjugated province of the Western Empire, as the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited, blind and in darkness, more shadows drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope of our deliverance. We do not know if the outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of the Nervarine is our old companion Navarre, reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a cat's paw of Azura, or some simple twist of fate. But we insist you adore to a temple doctrine, and conform to the strictures dividing the hieroglypha from the apocrypha, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Act as a dutiful priest should, in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against a god. Vivek. Well, must have took place here. Well, I don't know about this.